Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 40, featuring the top 5 scary episodes. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse, and I am the host of the TrekRanks podcast. And this week, we've got about as straightforward a topic as you can ever have on TrekRanks. We love this one. We're jumping straight into our top 5 scary episodes in the history of Trek. So about a year ago in episode 13, we did our top 5 gory moments, which was also an awesome topic. And we did that one in October of 2017. So this one's going to be a very different topic, I think, than gory episodes. So whether they're psychological scares or bump in the night scares or like boogeyman scares, Star Trek's had it all. Because as we've said a few times on the show, Trek's an anthology series. They can tell any kind of story they want, and scary episodes are no different. So joining us tonight for this cool topic are 2 awesome podcasters from all over the spectrum of Trek podcast networks. First up is Hayley Stoddard, who currently hosts the Earl Grey, the TNG podcast that's super popular over on Trek FM. Welcome back, Hayley. Are you there?
I am here, and that would be Amy. You can find me on Standard Orbit.
Oops.
I'm totally redoing that. No, I'm redoing. God damn it, Moorhouse.
Get your shit together, Jim.
All right. Fine. Hey, we're not editing that out, people.
No, do not edit that out. Oh, my God.
And, of course, I know it's great. Standard Orbit, but there's so many great podcasts at Trek FM. How could you possibly keep up? And hi, Amy Nelson, if you're listening.
Oh, my God. Well, in your defense, Jim, there are a lot of podcasts out there.
There are a lot of podcasts, and there was a Voyager podcast over at Trek FM as well, which is still there, that at one time through the journey was hosted by our other guest, who is Charlynn Schmiedt, who's now the host of Punch It on the Nerd Party. Char, you're here. We heard you.
Yes, I am here. I did host To the Journey for 4 years. It's now in good hands with Zach Fruity and Suzanne Williamson. And I'm doing Punch It with Tristan still. And we've gone on 2 years now on that show. And now I'm doing Babylon 5 stuff, vidcast.
Oh, that's right.
Hayley's all about it. I love it. Yes, Babylon 5 deserves so much more attention than it's gotten. However, now that it's on Amazon Prime, more people are discovering the series for the first time. They're rewatching the series if they've seen it before for the first time in a long time. And so the accessibility just kind of invigorated something in me. So I'm doing a show with Norman Lau called The Zocalo. It's a vidcast. We broadcast it live on Facebook. You can tune in there. Just look for the Zocalo Facebook group, and you can see our past broadcasts and join us live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. Or I'm doing a project with my husband who is watching Babylon 5 for the very first time. And on the Nerd Party, we do something called a Babble for 5, where we get his reaction after we watch an episode. And that's a whole lot of fun.
I've seen some of those, and I am one of those Babylon 5 people who watched it originally 20 years ago now, right? And I'm slyly starting my rewatch now for the first time ever. So I can barely remember it.
Oh, well, you got to go back now and watch it all over again and fall in love with it all over again. And thank you for letting me shamelessly plug all.
No, that was awesome. And Punch It's great with our good buddy Tristan. And back to Hayley, the host of Standard Orbit on Trek FM.
Right.
Yay!
She's killing it. Of course, I knew.
Yeah, that's okay, Jim. I totally forgive you. I mean, TNG is my one that I grew up with, but yes, I am talking about the original series because I enjoyed it. It was my first watch, and I actually just recently, a couple years ago, watched Babylon 5 for the first time. So it was one of those things where after TNG, anything sci-fi kind of fell off the radar for me. But it was really, really fun, and I totally am kind of wanting to do Amazon Prime just so I can watch that and other stuff, but I might go see if my library has it because that's a good resource for all those stuff out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a scary opening for myself on this episode of Trek Ranks. So, all right, let's get into our Trek Ranks recalibration before we get into tonight's topic. And as regular listeners will know, general order number one here at the Trek Ranks podcast is that we love Trek. We love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started, because my favorite thing to do is to talk about Star Trek, and that's why this podcast exists.
But what is that Vulcan motto? Infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
And what is diversity? A celebration of differences.
And as T'Pol and Dr. Phlox just said, our mantra here at Trek Ranks is no wrong answers. Trek Ranks is basically just a big old celebration of differences. And our show is about all the reasons we love Star Trek. So we're not here to nitpick or to argue, but just to celebrate the greatness of Trek. We love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline and Discovery as well. So it's all fair game here on the Trek Ranks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a quick reminder that Discovery Season 1 spoilers are potentially in play. And just one reminder that we use the term episodes as a quick shorthand phrase, but the 13 films are always in play. It's just easier to refer to everything as episodes as a catch-all for the films and TV series.
Open hailing frequencies. Hailing frequencies open. On viewer.
And if you would like to contact Trek Ranks, the best way to do that is to find us on Twitter at Trek Ranks or me directly at Enterprise Extra. And you can also call and leave us a message anytime with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. We also have a link on the Tricorder Transmissions website to SpeakPipe, so you can leave a message right there from your computer as well. And for those of you enjoying all of our shows here on the Tricorder Transmissions, you can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/the Tricorder Transmissions. All right, I was going to have Hayley and Char plug their own shows right now, but they've already done that. But why don't you guys tell everybody how they can get a hold of you? Hayley.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Trekkie01D. And if you are on Facebook, you can also find me in the Babel Conference, which is Trek FM's Facebook group.
All right. And Char?
I pretty much stick to Twitter these days. I honestly can't do a whole lot of social media anymore. It's just, I want to go off and do other things. But you can still tag me at Oh the Profanity, and I'll talk to you.
Same. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're now ready to activate our Level 1 diagnostic and get into today's show.
Diagnostic cycle will be complete in 20 seconds.
So this week's diagnostic cycle is a fun one, and I like when we have topics like this that they're so simple. So to get us into our mood for our picks, the diagnostic cycle, what I want to do for scary episodes is talk about what non-Star Trek things do you guys find scary in terms of TV, movies, books. I think that's a good barometer to get us kind of into the show. So, Hayley, what's something out there that you've seen or read that you think is scary?
So I'm a big fan of British television. BBC America was one of my favorite things. If I could get something set up so I can actually watch the actual BBC, I would be in heaven. But they had this show, and it was called Most Haunted. It was kind of like Ghost Hunters, but it was British. And they actually had a medium that would be on the show communicating, and they would travel around all over in England and Scotland and go into like these old castles and houses and things like that. And some of them, are just kind of the ruins, and they would see what was there and try to communicate with what was there. And honestly, sometimes I had to have the lights on with these episodes because it would terrify me, because it's that fear of like what you can't see. And so it's that psychological fear. That's what gets me. So if I watch scary movies, I don't like the gory stuff. Hitchcock is really good. I like that kind of scare. But yeah, Most Haunted, if you can find it, I highly recommend it. Some people thought that they were faking it, but sometimes some of those episodes, man, they really, oh my gosh.
That's a great description. I mean, scary ghost stories. Sometimes there's nothing scarier than that. Shar, how about you?
Okay, I've got two sort of like half answers. So my real one is Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh my gosh.
That stuff. Like when I was a kid and watching that show, it would scare the bejesus out of me. I would go to sleep frightened and have nightmares. And it was probably not the best thing for me to watch, but it was like that thing where once I started watching it, I couldn't stop. And I've been a fan of the show since, and I don't necessarily find it scary anymore, but things of that nature fascinate me and horrify me at the same time, just to think somebody could be murdered and nobody knows who did it or why.
Yeah. Well, the music terrified you on that show. That's what got you, was that music. Oh my gosh.
Oh man. And then Robert Stack just in some weird dark place with a lot of fog and smoke and stuff. Oh my God. That was such a great show. So that's my quote unquote real answer. But my non-recommendation, because I don't do horror films and I don't really like jump scare things and things of that nature, I have a great movie to check out if you just want to watch something and laugh at it. It's called Piranha 2, The Spawning. It was directed by James Cameron, and it's got a Star Trek connection because the star of the movie is Trisha O'Neill, who played Captain Garrett, among other guest roles. Yes, and the movie is horrible. It was made, I think, in like 1981, 82, and what might scare you is just how bad the special effects are. Okay. So if you're into horribly made, cheesy 80s horror flicks, you've got to see this one if you haven't already. Get it on like low quality VHS even. I mean, that might make it even better. It's flying killer fish and it's terrible. So check that out.
That is an absolute cult classic. And I will say that I saw Piranhas in the theaters. So the original in the theaters. Yeah. So all right. Those are scary. I love that you guys kind of picked similar ones with the ghost stories and the Unsolved Mystery TV show. So for me, easiest pick I've ever had to make on TrekRanks because it's the Blair Witch Project, full stop. I hate this movie. And by hate, I mean that I have so much respect for how good this movie is. I can barely stomach it. The movie terrifies me. And I've felt that way ever since I saw it in the theaters and walked out of the theater. It's just this feeling of fear and dread and hopelessness when they're lost and they just can't get any further in the woods and they know that there's nowhere to go. And it's scary enough with those goddamn sticks when they wake up in the morning and they're all hanging from the trees. But just that feeling of dread in that movie, that stuff really terrifies me. And so that's going to be all over my picks tonight, I think. And and the ending of this movie, if you've seen it, with the guy standing in the corner and then the camera drops and the movie's over after they told the story about the guy standing in the corner. I mean, I wanted to wipe it from my memory. So
I didn't see that movie for that reason.
It's terrifying.
I was like, no, I'm good. Like I'm like Char. I don't like the scary stuff. My brother loves that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm good. But I will watch like the ghost shows. Like that's fine. But like, no.
Did either of you guys see Paranormal Activity?
No.
That's another one. Very ghost story-ish and very scary as well.
Okay. I did see Blair Witch. That's such a good pick, Jim. I wish I would have thought of it, but since you picked it, it's totally cool because now we get to talk about it.
Stop bringing it up, Shar. Stop bringing it up. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Okay. All right. We're done. Sorry.
It's really, really good movie. Okay. I think we're ready to jump into our Prime Directives and break down exactly how we made our picks for tonight's show.
I do not concur with your captain's decision.
She's following our Prime Directive.
Define Prime Directive.
So, Hayley, how did you narrow down your picks? I'm curious to see how it relates maybe to, what are they called? Mystery Hunters? No.
Most Haunted.
Most Haunted. Oh, my God. That's actually a really good name.
It is.
It's a really good name. All right. So, curious how it might relate to your Prime Directive with Most Haunted.
Yeah. So, kind of like I was saying, I like the psychological scary. Partly, I mean, it relates to my degree because that is my degree. But that stuff like sticks with you, And your mind can take this stuff that isn't really there and just, it goes with it. Like, you know, you have dreams about it and you have nightmares, and your mind can take these things and twist them and make them way more scarier than they actually probably are, and make you think that things are real, even if they're not. And so that's kind of where my thinking was with this like scary episode, stuff that's not like truly scary in that like boo kind of scare, but more of like that, oh my gosh, like this is scary because my mind is playing with me and my mind is making it scary.
Love it. That's going to be similar to my Prime Directive. Shar, how about you?
Wow. I wonder if we're going to have a whole bunch of duplicates because first off, my degree was also in psychology.
Yes.
So anything that kind of messes with your head did rank a little higher. And I've got a couple of different reasons for why I have things on my list. One thing is if when I watched it and I was younger and if it actually genuinely scared me, it was a candidate for my list. Mm-hmm. And then if it didn't actually scare me at the time, does it mess with my head? Does it make me kind of like fear the unknown and mess with me a little bit? That also qualified it to be on my list. And so that's really how I formed it. I just let my mind wander, and it wasn't hard to come up with candidates. I will say, however, that it was really, I have a very like TNG and Voyager heavy leaning list. For some reason, DS9, TOS, Enterprise, and Discovery didn't go there. And I'm wondering if it's because those were, you know, my developing years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting show. My Prime Directive is very similar. It's all about psychological scary, which is what Blair Witch is. And messing with your head. And for me, it's that feeling of not knowing where you, like being lost or alone or desperate or just out of control and not being able to control your environment. So
yeah,
this is going to be more so than like bump in the night kind of stuff. So this is going to be very interesting. Might have some duplicates. We shall see. Let's get Third Modicon lined up to get us into the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Just a quick reminder on how we're going to go through the order of things. First, each of us will reveal our original TrekRanks 5 words and a hashtag summary to tease our pick. Then we'll reveal our scary episode and why we picked it. And at the end, we'll ask for a few secondary system selections for the picks that maybe just missed our list. I have a ton of those.
Me too.
And if we have any duplicates tonight, it sounds like we just might have a few. We'll see. You'll know it when you hear the defiant torpedoes. Okay, Hayley, let's start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 scary episode?
All right. So this one is kind of fun. So you might get it. I like to kind of tease it, so you might not know what it is, but my 5 words is a haunting in the mind, hashtag it eats through anything. That's right. It's season 1, episode 26 of TOS, Devil in the Dark.
Nice one.
Fantastic.
It's not like, it's not super scary, but it is kind of creepy.
It is.
You know, I mean, you've got these people and they're walking through a mine and there's something that's attacking everything. No one knows what it is because it's always some person by themselves, and then they're gone and like there's nothing left of them. So
For sure.
Yes.
It has the opening of this is, I mean, it's got that 60s kitsch, of course, but the opening is one of the only openings that doesn't involve any Starfleet or any ship or anything. It's just or Schmiedt are on the planet getting fried.
Exactly. So, I mean, it plays into this whole, you know, sometimes reality is just as scary, you know, because you don't know what it is. And so it plays into that whole thing. And then once they find out, you know, it's not as scary, but it still has that like, oh my gosh, because everyone's freaking out. You see it on their face. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm by myself.
Yeah. And there's that lack of control that they have when all the workers are revolting on them. This is interesting because I didn't consider this one. I wonder if it's why I've never thought of this one as scary, but it definitely has those elements. So I love this pick, but it didn't pop up on my list. Shar, how about you?
Yeah. I think a part of what makes this episode scary is the fact that the Horta, it's not a humanoid creature.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of the campy special effects. We know it's a little monster, but imagine if that were real and if it were really actually happening and you're wondering what is going on. Yeah, that's going to mess with you. And then how do you communicate with something who does not speak a language?
Exactly.
At least directly thinking, what am I going to do with this thing?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I have always defended this, and I think it stands the test of time to today. The physical costume of the Horta is amazing, and it's really not cheesy. I mean, yeah, okay, there's a guy under there crawling, but it looks awesome, and it looks dangerous, and it looks unique, and it doesn't look humanoid. It's got all the elements of things you would want in a monster or a creature, and it's super original. Tell me something else you've seen that's similar to that.
Right. It's far scarier than a forehead of the week.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, great pick. Awesome start. I am loving that one. Okay, Shar, how about you? What's your number 5 pick?
My number 5-word summary is Goopy Ink Monster kills Tasha. Hashtag FU Armus. It is Skin of Evil from TNG.
Oh, great pick.
Yeah.
I put this on here because when I first watched this episode at the ripe old age of 6 years old, the fact that this monster thing, again, not really with much of a face, just kills Tasha, and that actually happened and she didn't live at the end of the episode, I thought, oh, what else is going to happen? I was terrified. So remembering that terror is what put this on my list, just the fact that it really got to me when I was that age.
Brilliant, because he's legitimately evil. The whole episode is set up that this guy's just evil, doesn't care about anything. And I had the exact same reaction when I was a little older, but when they didn't reset and have Tasha come back, it was like a sit-up moment in my chair, like, wait, what? Because I didn't know anything. I didn't heard any rumors. I didn't know she was leaving the show. I'm like, wait, Tasha's dead? She's not on the show anymore? That thing killed her? Oh, my God.
Like, for real? Yeah, and then when Riker, he gets, taken into the goop.
Yeah.
I remember feeling, oh, God, he's going to die too? All right, whoa, we're going to lose the whole crew this time. It's just going to be the Shakespearean tragedy, even though I didn't know what that was when I was 6.
I love it. The ominous, scary mood of this episode is legit.
You do not understand. I do not serve things evil. I am evil.
Oh, no. You are not.
I am a skin of evil, left here by a race of titans who believed if they rid themselves of me, they would free the bonds of destructiveness.
Hayley, what's your take on Skin of Evil?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I remember, I don't remember how old I was when I saw that episode, but definitely scary. I mean, this thing that, his voice was creepy. He moved creepy. When he came up out of the goo, it was like, oh my God, like that was, legitimately like scary stuff of nightmares.
Yeah, his voice was also creepy. Oh,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it did give me nightmares when I was a kid.
Yeah, probably me too. I wouldn't be surprised.
Great picks. All right, I'll hit my number 5 pick, which my 5 words in a hashtag is Flying Troy reduces its effectiveness, hashtag, but the frights are real, and it is from TNG Season 4, Episode 17, Night Terrors.
Yeah, I knew this would make the list.
Yeah, I kind of have slagged this episode off in the past, and I think, mostly that's because, I'm gonna posit that it's because everybody remembers it for the cheesy special effect of Troy flying in the air and yelling, "Where are you?"
Yes, that's it right there.
But everything else about that is actually a really scary, creepy special effect. The voice of the alien, the cloud, and I noticed this because I did a rewatch. I did research on some of these episodes. Before she starts flying, she's walking in that space, and it's really creepy. It's like a spider webby kind of nebula black hole, green and black, and it's really kind of creepy. I think the episode maybe doesn't get the respect it deserves because the shot of her flying probably it doesn't really work that well. Maybe takes you out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it ruins it.
Yeah, and I think and so other than that, I think the creeps in the episode are legit. There's that incapacitated Betazoid that they find on the Britannia. You know, everyone's kind of stumbling around, not being able to focus. The score is really creepy and excellent, and this definitely plays into kind of my being lost and not yourself and not having any control. And it has one of the all-time great scary frights in history when Dr. Crusher's in the morgue and the body sits up, you know, behind her.
The big no.
Yeah, that is a legit scary moment. You can say whatever you want about any of these picks we have, but that's a legit scary moment for sure.
For real.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Shar, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, this is on my secondary systems. There are some genuinely creepy moments. I agree, especially the body in the morgue. Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't make my list because of that one shot, the bad special effects, plus the "Who are you?" That I'm sorry, that was horrible.
I feel like it would have worked if she was just walking the whole time.
Yeah,
I think so. Sometimes silence is way creepier than saying anything at all.
Yeah. And by the way, this is a great Data episode too, because he's like the only one in control and he's like going through the motions of deciding when people he needs to kind of take over. I really like it. So
yeah.
Hayley, how about you?
No, I totally agree. It's definitely got that creep factor, and I'm not going to say any more.
Okay. All right. We're going to hold on to that. So let's go to round 4. Hayley, what's your number 4 pick?
All right. So my 5-word summary is scary alien with superpowers. #Bashir is trapped. This is season 3, episode 19 of DS9, Distant Voices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right? And some people probably don't think it's spooky, but I think it is because, I mean, he's trapped inside of the station, or at least that's what he thinks he is, because this is he's stuck in his head. But it's legit scary. I mean, he's interacting with all the crew, but they're not actually really there because it's all in his head. But, like, the alien's coming after him. It's dark a lot of the time in the episode. And it's that whole isolation, like you were saying, Jim. You know, I mean, he's got to get out of it. And it creeps me out a little bit. Like, I would not want to be trapped on that station by myself. And, like, something's, like, throwing things in the background and is, like, trying to track me down because he wants something from me. And that alien, like, he's a little creepy looking. I have to, not gonna lie, like, with all this stuff coming out of his face. So, yeah.
He is. And there's that one scene where I think he grabs Cisco, right, and pulls him through the wall.
Yeah.
Like when they're walking down the corridor.
And he's hunting him down. He kills Kira or something like that. Yeah. And it's, legit kind of creepy and scary.
Yeah, that is a great outside the box pick. I will tell you that I did think of aging episodes to consider, and the Deadly Years from TOS ended up on my secondary systems, but I didn't think of this one because that rapid aging, that's kind of scary thing. I mean, that falls into my Prime Directive of being out of control and that. So, Shar, how about you on Distant Voices?
Very good pick. I was trying to think of what would be a really good candidate from DS9, and that just things ultimately did not make my list, but this is a great choice because it is that whole thing of psychologically what it's doing to your head. It's making you second guess. It's messing with you.
Exactly. And that's what it is. I mean, you realize, I mean, at one point everyone's around him and he's in sick bays and they're trying to get him out of it, but he's just stuck.
Yeah.
And he doesn't realize it for like most of the episode and then he's like, I'm stuck. I have to get back out.
Right.
That's I love this pick, and you're right about the Lethian alien.
Yes.
He's actually terrifying. So he's a legit scary protagonist or antagonist. Okay, Shar, what's your number 4 pick?
My number 4 pick, 5 words. My head, it goes boom. # worms. It's Conspiracy from TNG. Again, lots of TNG picks. This one, again, when I was younger, scared the heck out of me for the scene where the Admiral's head blows up and the parasite creature comes out.
Ugh.
Also banned in England. In the UK, BBC would not show it for a good while until they edited parts of this episode out for that reason. So, I mean, that's about as horrific as Star Trek, I think, ever got in terms of special effects and trying to be gruesome. But it's more than that. In this episode, as I rewatch it, as I'm older, I genuinely get a creeped out feeling from these hashtag badmirals.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you get that feeling where something isn't quite right, it usually means something bad is going on. And lo and behold, what happens? There's a nice little promise that something's not right with the higher ups in Starfleet Command. Well, that's not going to end well.
Yeah.
And that the scene with the captains on that planet, that's a really scary scene.
Yeah.
That's a scary scene, the way, just because you don't know what's going on. It's ominous. They're challenging him. You don't know what's going on. That's the kind of thing that scares me.
Yep. It's that fact of what is going on and you don't know what it is. You're trying to figure out what it is and you can't. So this is a good one to mess with you in that sense.
Yeah. That's an awesome pick. I hadn't even considered it. I think I considered it for gory moments for sure. For that last scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember not liking it when I was a kid and it's definitely scared me. And in watching it with my daughter, I was like, close your eyes. Like, no, just, she's like, what? And I'm like, just close your eyes. Cause it was a few years ago. So I was like, just close them. You don't want this nightmare in your head.
If we ever watch together, Hayley, please tell me to do the same thing.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to close out round 4. My number 4 pick. This is one that's kind of a little bit outside of my Prime Directive, but I love this episode and wanted to include it. 5 words in a hashtag. Creepy, bloody, and very disturbing hashtag HD25 isomorphic projection. And it is Voyager Season 4, Episode 5, Revulsion.
Yay! On my secondary systems.
Oh my God, I actually love this episode. It's like number 54 at TrekRanks. And I would sum this episode up. This is the one where there's a hologram that they find on a ship. Turns out he's killed everybody, and the doctor's trying to make friends with them, and B'Elanna's there trying to help fix his ship. And he's a little off, to say the least. And I sum up this episode from this one great line from Leland Orser, who's the actor who played the isomorphic projection. And he says to Torres, "Oh, you're getting blood everywhere." And I just love that. That's after he had attacked her. And Leland Orser is an amazing actor, by the way. He's in a ton of great Trek.
Oh, you're getting blood everywhere. I'm going to have to deactivate you.
This episode for me combines all the elements of horror that I like. It's got some great exploitive kind of blood and guts, and it's also got some major psychological fear. And again, Leland Orser, just for me, it's one of the performances for the ages when he's there's this scene where he just explodes on B'Elanna about how he's ashamed to be made in their image and how disgusting organics are. Just an amazing moment, super creepy. And the guy is just killing people. So and at the end, I think it's the first time we've seen this, he grabs B'Elanna's heart through her chest and is like basically squeezing it. And that terrified me. So I love this episode. I think it's legit scary. Hayley, what's your take on Revulsion?
So I'm not a completist and I haven't gotten to.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
We know that. So
I'm getting there.
Make sure your daughter closes her eyes during Revulsion.
Oh, I will.
Shar, how about you in Revulsion?
Yeah, very good pick on my secondary systems. The whole thing with B'Elanna's heart, that's kind of what does it for me, as well as the idea that this dude is just coming from a point of view that he's coming from a bad place.
Yeah, he's
sort of like Lon Suter, man. He's up to no good, until Tuvok comes along. But he's just out there. He's killing people like it's a daily task.
He has got major issues.
A little bit. And
it's kind of sad because the doctor wants to totally be friends with him, but that's not going to work out.
No.
All right, let's move on to the soup round, round 3. Hayley, what's your number 3 pick?
All right, 5-word summary. It's all in his head. Hashtag maybe it's not, maybe it's real. It's season 6, episode 21 of TNG, Frame of Mind.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Thanks. Yeah. So, I mean, this one, it's that total just the entire time. I can still watch it to this day and I forget like what is real and what's not real. And I mean, you go through that journey with Riker, you're feeling the same things that he's feeling, and it totally can mess with you if you let it. So, yeah, it plays into that whole psychological what's real, what's not real, scary. And I mean, at the end of the episode, you feel for Riker and what he's gone through. Yeah, freaks me out.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you said it perfectly. This is the episode where you kind of, I don't care how many times you've seen it, you always get lost with him.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you do that, where you kind of think, wait, where's this going again? I know I've seen it 50 times, but it is absolutely terrifying. Char, what's your take on Frame of Mind?
Yeah, you kind of said it, Hayley. It's a great one where you kind of get lost in the tale and it's messing with your head. What is reality? I mean, think about what is happening in our world, where it just seems like people are really living in a different reality from you, no matter like where you are in terms of reality. So scary stuff. You're totally with Riker for that ride, and it kind of leaves you with just this weird, well, what is reality? It makes you question things all the time.
Exactly. And yeah, it does. I mean, it's just like, and really every single time I'm 35 and every time I watch that episode, I forget where the story's going.
I'm the same. I love that little moment too, where he's got that little like cut or nick on the side of his head.
Yeah.
Coming back, and you're like, and then you realize that's where the aliens are kind of probing his mind. I mean, that's one of the scariest episodes. Love that pick. Char, how about you? What's your round 3 pick?
All right. 5 words are Picard begs for Q's help. Hashtag the Borg are coming. It's Q who.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Because of the fact that we know that there are massive consequences down the line. This is our introduction to the Borg. Enterprise D gets hurled across the galaxy by Q and exposed to this threat of these lifeless-looking cybernetic life forms we eventually get to know as the Borg. It's scary. It's creepy. It's a prelude of things to come.
Yeah.
We need to stop the show, and I need to redo my list because you-hoo. What? How did I not think of this? This is legit terrifying. And it fits my Prime Directive too, because it's just that feeling of helplessness. I mean, I remember the first time you watched this when they're fighting them. It's like there's nobody. They can't talk to them. They're just this nonstop entity that's just going to keep coming. I mean, it's terrifying. Brilliant pick. Can't believe I didn't think of it. I love this pick. Hayley, what's your take on Q?
No, yeah, and I didn't think of it either, and so that's really great because it's really scary, and especially like Guinan's explaining like you have no idea what's going to happen, and you're just like, oh shit, like what is going to happen?
And we know to trust Guinan.
Yeah, exactly. And her explaining it, and you're just like, and it's very ominous and like foreboding of what's going to come. So really good pick. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really good. And Guinan's explaining it by saying, turn around and leave now.
Yeah.
Don't mess around.
Oh, that is one of the all-time surprise picks on TrekRanks that I did not think of and am kicking myself.
I'll be leaving now. You thought you could handle it. So handle it.
Q. End this.
Moi? What makes you think I'm either inclined or capable to terminate this encounter?
If we all die here, now, you will not be able to gloat. You wanted to frighten us. We're frightened. You wanted to show us that we were inadequate. For the moment, I grant that. You wanted me to say, I need you. I need you.
All right, so we are going to finish round 3 with no duplicates yet. My round 3 pick to close out the soup round, 5 words and a hashtag. The fatality rate will be minimal. Hashtag, but there will be some deformities. And it is from Voyager Season 4, Episode 7, Scientific Method.
Nice.
And again, Hayley, you may not have seen this one yet. This is another creep fest. This is one where there's aliens on board conducting experiments that the Voyager crew do not know about because they're in a sub-dimension.
Well, that's always creepy.
So they can't see that. It is. I mean, I want to move on quickly from this episode. That's how much it terrifies me. The experiments, once you can see them, are terrifying. The needles in Janeway's head are terrifying. It's the whole thing creeps me out. And I love, again, this complicated story on top of it with Seven trying to figure out how to get rid of them, even though she's being monitored. It's just a really, really great episode all the way through. And this is a total happy accident for me. The person who wrote this episode is Lisa Klink, and she wrote my previous episode too, Revulsion. And Revulsion and Scientific Method aired about 2 weeks apart in season 4, and I had no idea until I was putting my notes together after I picked these episodes.
She was on a roll.
Yeah, she was definitely on a roll. And okay, so Char, how about you then on Scientific Method?
Love this episode so much. Again, on my secondary systems, it was so close to making my top 5. I love this episode. It is creepy. There's a good reason why Janeway is cranky in this episode. Yeah. And there's some great lines, but I don't want to spoil anything for Hayley because you should just watch this episode. It really is good. But anytime somebody that you cannot see is performing experiments on you, that's creepy.
That is really creepy.
And it's okay. Don't worry. I probably by the time I get to it, will have forgotten.
Yeah, you're not going to remember that. At the end, she flies the ship straight through 2 pulsars and kills everybody. It's awesome.
She means business in this one.
She totally does. But I love that it's so in character because she's just so. Because they're messing with her head, right? They're testing her resistance.
Yeah, they're lab rats.
Migraine. Actually, you'll love this, Hayley, because she's got this migraine. She's basically like, I don't care anymore. We're flying through the suns, and you guys are going to die, and if we live, great. Okay, move on.
I feel that way with migraine sometimes, so yeah.
All right, let's go to round 2. Hayley, what's your round 2 pick?
All right. My 5 words and hashtag are when nightmares become reality, hashtag sleepless in space.
Yes.
Season 4, episode 17 of TNG, Night Terrors. So we have a duplicate. So we've kind of already chatted about this, but yeah, creep factor all the way. I mean, this is what happens when you don't get sleep. And this is why they don't do a lot of like crazy sleep studies anymore where they keep people awake for hours and hours and hours upon end. They actually don't put this in like the Guinness Book of World Records when people stay up for long periods of time because they don't want anybody competing because it has a lot of really bad effects on your body. It's psychologically you start to deteriorate and your brain is going to mess with you like really bad. So this is what the crew is going through. And, you know, they start seeing things that are not really happening because they're just not getting sleep. And those bodies sitting up in the morgue, to this day, I know it's coming. I will cover my eyes because it scares me. Can't do it. So, yeah.
Night Terrors. I'm so glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention that in my recap. That's one of the scariest elements of this is that lack of
the lack of
REM
sleep.
Yeah, that they talk about. You know, no idea what the science is, but sure sounds legit because I can't. If you can't sleep,
well, and that's
start losing your head.
You know, we cycle through our sleep. So like our REM sleep is not actually very long of a period when we're sleeping. We're in more of light sleep most of the time, but that REM sleep, the little bit that we do get is super, super important. That's when our brain is processing most of the stuff that we've gone through the day. That's when you're going to dream and everything. And if you don't get that, your brain does not process everything. And yeah, you're going to start hallucinating when you're awake. It's not a good thing.
No, hallucination, bad.
Yeah.
One moon circles. Okay. Char, what's your number 2 pick?
My number 2 pick, Cirque du Soleil meets Nightmares. Hashtag Janeway defeats fear itself. It's the thaw on Voyager. This is one of my personal favorites.
Oh, fantastic pick. And let's just jump to it right now, because that's my number 2 pick too.
Woohoo! Pew, pew, pew,
Pew, pew, pew, pew. My 5 words in a hashtag was, what will become of me? Hashtag, like all fear, you'll eventually vanish.
Oh, yours are way better.
Double hashtag, drat. All right. So Char, why did you pick the thaw? Fantastic pick.
Okay, well, this is another one of those psychological thrillers, like fearing the unknown, what is going to happen. These people are literally dying from their fears, and they've been subjected to it for years. They've just been terrified for years on end, and then they eventually die from something like a heart attack or stress or what have you. And you see it just happening to Harry in a short amount of time. They're torturing this poor guy, and B'Elanna too, but Harry's falling for it a little harder. And Janeway, my wonderful badass Janeway, she faces fear, defeats fear.
She lied. It was very un-Starfleet of her.
Starfleet captains don't easily succumb to fear.
What will become of us? Of me?
Like all fear, you eventually vanish.
I'm afraid.
I know.
Drat.
Fade to black. End of episode. I mean, can you get better than that?
It's amazing. I gotta say,
I love this episode.
This episode was on my episodes we grew to love, which we talked about, Char, when you were on that TrekRanks episode. Because when I originally saw this, I kind of wasn't that into it, and then the second or third time I saw it, it started to really catch me. And now I love this episode. It's terrifying. It
is. If you don't like clowns, you're going to hate this episode.
Yes, you're going to hate it. The imagery is super, super creepy. So, Hayley, you haven't seen this one yet, right? Either.
No, but I hate clowns. So
you're going to hate this one.
I was on an episode on another podcast, and I had to watch an episode of the Orville. Well, I didnto have to, but I watched an episode of the Orville, and it had a clown in it, and I was like, no to the clowns.
By the way, that was a pretty good episode of the Orville. I'll say, do you like circus freaks? Because you also have that in this episode. So
those aren't bad. That's not bad, but it does sound really interesting because, again, fear. That. When you're constantly running on fear, your endorphins and everything are really running high in your body.
Right.
Over a long period of time, that will kill you. It really will. So fear is not a good thing to have constantly running through your body.
Right. Yeah. And some of these people, I mean, it's just sheer exhaustion.
Right.
Is what happens to them. Also, if you like Michael McKean as an actor, he plays fear in this episode. So if you like him, check it out for him. If nothing else, he does great.
Okay.
He's so good. And that scene where they kill the guy with the guillotine is
terrifying.
I forgot about that's legit. I mean, the guy dies. That's legit terrifying. So this one, all the weird imagery and everything, it's the perfect confluence. It was a Joe Menosky script, and we know that the very edgy Trek writer with crazy ideas, and the lighting and the direction of this was done by Marvin Rush, who's the lighting expert on Trek for so many years. So it really was kind of a perfect storm of talent that landed on this script. Really, really awesome. And Michael McKean, like you said, and that big freakish guy with the big teeth in the background. That's dusting stuff. I hate that guy. Terrifying episode. Let's jump into round one and figure out what our number 1 picks are. Hayley, what's your top scary episode?
All right. 5 words are easy away mission, gone awry. Hashtag Garrick's coming for ya. This is season 5, episode 24 of Deep Space Nine. It is Empok Nor. Yeah. No, it creeps me out.
I love this pick. This is on my secondary systems. I love this pick.
It's spooky, and it just it's constantly spooky between like you've got the Cardassians that are like going around and they're killing some people, and that's crazy and scary, and it's foggy and it's dark. And the only thing I don't like is Empok Nor's flipped on its side, yet somehow when they're walking inside, they're upright. But aside from that, Garrick starts losing it, and then he's taunting O'Brien, and oh my gosh, I think it's a brilliant episode. It's crazy, it's scary. Garrick hangs like their bodies when they finally decide to meet up, and you're just like, it catches you off guard. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm so glad you picked this episode because it was in my secondary systems and I was going to talk about it. This is a terrifying episode. They kind of capture all the great horror movie tropes with the crew gets separated and one after another is getting picked off. I love that. And I love that at the end, Garrick becomes the big bad in this. Mm-hmm. And he's legitimately going to kill Nog. You know, there's like no doubt in my mind that there's real jeopardy there. And it's terrifying. It's really, really scary. These chemically altered Cardassians are legit scary, and so is Garrick.
Yep, exactly.
Char, what's your take on Empok Nor?
I haven't got a whole lot to say, unfortunately, because I've not watched this episode since it aired. Like, frankly, I forgot about it. I'm so sorry. So it's just yet another reminder. Go watch DS9, Char. Stop watching Babylon 5 for the 50th time. But I can't pull myself away.
When you go I love this episode. I think it's really clever. And it's really well written, too, where they're playing the game. I can't remember what it's called. But
yeah, it sounds so good. I definitely need to watch it.
Yeah, creeps me out. It's some Cardassian game or something.
Yeah, Garrick really wants the chief to play, and the chief's just like, no, I'm not into it. I'm an engineer. It's not what I do. I'm not a soldier. And he's like, no, you're a soldier. And it's so good. It's so well done. Great episode. Fantastic pick by Hayley. Char, what's your number one Trek scary episode?
All right, here we go. My 5 words are click, 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 click. Hashtag Data reads poetry. It is Schisms from TNG.
Yes.
Fantastic. I knew that had to be on somebody's list.
Yeah, I had to go for it. It was the very first thing that I thought of. This one is still scary to me to this day. That's why it kind of reigns supreme. This is such a great mystery, too. It starts off innocent enough with just a little bit of sleep deprivation. But like you were saying, Hayley, sleep deprivation can be a serious problem. And we watch this slow descent into madness, you know? And again, it's another alien abduction story. I think the pacing of the story is great. You know, it starts with Riker, but it goes to other crew members, and then they go into the holodeck. They reconstruct the table and the chairs, the room.
Yeah.
Those clicking sounds. That's when I'm really kind of on the edge of my seat with this one, are those creepy clicking sounds. I hate them. Watching the abduction is uncomfortable, and it's just like at any moment I'm waiting for a jump scare, you know? So that to me is a really good, scary episode. It's a big departure from the usual TNG fashion, where it's like these aliens aren't even just doing it they're not doing the abductions out of curiosity and in the name of exploration and learning. No, they're doing it with much more sinister intentions. It's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Hayley, what's your take on Schisms?
No, this is a great pick. Actually, it's on my long list of episodes. It just missed out.
Yeah, it's terrifying. The moment where they talk about Riker's arm having been severed and reattached is like, oh my God. That was like, what? What did they just say on Star Trek? That is
right. Am I watching Star Trek for real?
Yeah, that was terrifying. And you're right. The sound of the clicking alien dudes is pretty terrifying. This was on my secondary system as well. So
it will haunt me forever.
And I know this will be a pick that we get a lot of feedback on. All right, let's close out round 1 with my top scary episode. 5 words and a hashtag. Still tricks me every time. Hashtag, you bet I'm agitated. It is Frame of Mind from TNG, just like Hayley. Nice. And I said it before, so I'll touch on it really quick, that It's amazing how you kind of forget where this episode's going, no matter how many times you've seen it. So I love that element. And the confusion element of it, I love the way the production tricks you with the play and on stage versus being in the prison on the planet. They just do the direction's really good on that. So the director was James Conway, did a ton of Trek. And of course, I can't talk about this episode without talking about the master Brandon Braga, who wrote this episode, the scribe who wrote more Trek episodes than any other writer. So this one's just legendary. And I'll add out one more shout out to the beautiful Susanna Thompson, the Borg Queen, who is on the prison set, the alien with the spoon. I love that. That's such a great, tricky scene when it's so Star Trek when he's talking to her and she's like, hey, I'm here. I'm from this ship. We were taken prisoner. And when you're watching it the first time, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, of course. Here we go now. Is that a spoon? What is she doing? Oh, she's crazy. Got it. This is terrifying. Love this episode. All right, any final comments from you guys on Frame of Mind?
No.
I'm good.
All right, then let's jump into our secondary systems. We'll just rattle off some extra picks here of some episodes that might have just missed our list. So, Hayley, how about you? Anything on your secondary systems?
Yeah, I almost had First Contact on there again with the Borg. It's creepy when they're crawling around in the ship, but and so that's always scary. I had Cat's Paw on there just because, it's fun.
Why not?
It's kind of scary a little bit, And then one of the other couple, Genesis and Phantasms.
Yep, those were on my list.
Yeah. So,
Phantasms just because of those creepy interphasic organisms. I hate those.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate those things. How about you, Char? What was on your list?
Genesis was on there as well, but it's more of just fun to watch than scary, so it didn't quite make it. It's just it's crazy, oh my god, what are they turning into now? Kind of like Threshold. It's just like you got to sit back and enjoy the ride and ignore science.
But Barkley Spider is like
Barkley Spider.
That's true. That's even better than lizards. Let's see. A lot of other episodes we've mentioned already made my secondary systems, but other ones are Timescape. Kind of a little more of a mystery, but there's some strange visuals going on in this one. What kind of saves it though from being a scary episode is when Picard puts the happy face in the warp cloud. So that kind of disqualified it for me. That's too happy to be scary. And then also One for Voyager, where all the crew except for Seven is put it into suspended animation, and she's all by herself. It's sort of like Enterprise's Dear Doctor, but I feel like this one's scarier.
Yeah, that one's got some legit creepy...
Yeah, it's got a creep factor going on for sure.
Great. Okay, so I'll rattle off a few. My toughest cut was actually The Haunting of Deck 12. I love this one. And you're going to...
that was on my list too. I'm so sorry. I forgot about it. It's in there. It's
just basically this big ghost story. Hayley, you'll love it when you get to it. That one you definitely should watch with your daughter because she'll love it.
Yeah, it's cute.
And it's kind of cute, but it actually has some scary moments with like the screaming face in the nebula. And I love the ghost story setup with Neelix and the Borg kids. So I also had Impulse, which is basically Star Trek doing a zombie episode, which is amazing. I like where Silence Has Lease. For me, that one is really scary, and I considered it because Nick Elam's face just is terrifying, and the fact that he's just running experiments with them and going to kill them all was pretty good. And then he kills, and then everyone's favorite Trek meme when he kills the con officer for no reason. The Shoot is another one. Charlotte, you'll probably like that one. That's kind of that lost hopelessness of those guys, and they're getting affected with the implant in their brains. The Darkness and the Light from DS9.
Oh yeah,
and that Cardassians killing Kira's friends and then torturing her.
Oh, yeah. And
I had two special shout outs to TOS. One, which people won't think is a scary episode, and I know it's not, but the Ultimate Computer for me is that's kind of that. If you're Kirk, that's that terrifying Blair Witch feeling where you're just lost because there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You're taking your ship away and you're watching this computer kill all your friends and there's nothing you can do. That episode actually I find kind of scary. And then the lights of Zetar, and just for that terrifying sound design, whenever Mira Romaine's having one of those visions, that
yeah,
terrible. I hate that noise.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
Yep.
That's legit scary. So that's a whole bunch. But I'm sure we're going to get a lot of great picks from our listeners when we get this episode out there. So I don't think anyone's going to be sleeping tonight after all those great picks. For sure, not me. But let's try to wind this episode down with our regeneration cycle.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
All right, Hayley. So run through your 5 picks again.
All right. So at number 5, I had Devil in the Dark from TOS. Number 4 was Distant Voices from Deep Space Nine. 3 for the soup round was Frame of Mind from TNG. We had another TNG at number 2 with Night Terrors, and number 1, Empok Nor from Deep Space Nine.
Love that first pick.
Thank you.
And Shar, how about you?
Okay, number 5, Skin of Evil from TNG. Number 4 was Conspiracy from TNG. Number 3, again, TNG. Woohoo. Then we jumped to Voyager for number 2, which was The Thaw, and number 1 was Schisms, TNG.
Yoo-hoo.
Nice.
Wow. Amazing. Well, I actually also had all TNG and Voyager, Shar, so we were very much alike in that regard. So my number 5 pick was Night Terrors from TNG. Then number 4 was Voyager Revulsion. Number 3 was Scientific Method from Voyager. Number 2, also from Voyager, was The Thaw. And my number 1 was Frame of Mind from TNG. So Hayley had 2 DS9s, 2 TNGs, and 1 TOS. And Shar had 4 TNG and 1 Voyager. And I had 3 Voyagers and 2 TNGs. I could have easily done an all Voyager list. I forgot to mention in my secondary systems, Juggernaut is another one that's a real scary kind of monster kind of episode. So, all right. So the overall stats, we actually spread it around maybe a little better than I thought. We had 1 from TOS, 2 from Deep Space Nine, 4 from Voyager, and 8 from TNG. So TNG totally led the way. And we had 3 duplicates. So that's a pretty high duplicate ratio, which makes sense based on our Prime directives.
So what we're saying is that Enterprise and Discovery are not scary.
Yeah.
Well, that's not scary enough for top 5. But hey, somebody will disagree and send us some lists with Enterprise on it for sure, and probably even Discovery, because Context is for Kings is pretty scary, and so is
there's
yeah. So, all right, let's wind this episode down. We are once again caught in a temporal causality loop. So before we can depart this show, it's time to hear from you.
The Enterprise has been caught up in a temporal causality loop, and I suspect that something similar may have happened to you.
This week, we're jumping back to episode 38 in our top 5 scenes in a Jeffries tube, which is definitely one of my favorite topics that we've ever done on TrekRanks. I always love these deep cut topics in our scenes in Trek series. So the feedback here was fantastic. I'm just going to rattle off a few of my favorite deep cut picks. First up is at TrekFanRick, who thought of another great TOS Jeffries Tube moment that I completely forgot about, and that was Kirk at the end of Court Martial. So after he beats up Ben Finney, I forget that he's got to climb into the Jeffries tube and save the day to keep the ship from burning up in orbit. And it's awesome because he's just climbing in there, and there's sparks and smoke, and there's just cords hanging, and he's pulling stuff. I love a classic Jeffries tube scene. And that's
good pick.
That one was really good deep cut. And then another cool outside of the box pick was from at NerdyGal133 on Twitter. And she picked the scene from Garrick in By Inferno's Light when they're in the prison and he's inside the wall trying to get the communications relay up. And yeah, it's inside the wall, but hey, that's a maintenance service area, so that's a Jeffries tube. He's climbing in there and doing some work, and that was a really good outside of the box pick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
really clever. Another great deep cut pick that never came up on the show that came in from Robert at the Pacer Commander on Twitter, and he chose the great scene in Rascals when the kids are trying to retake the ship. I totally forgot about this, but Minnie Guinan and Minnie Rowe are crawling through a Jeffries tube when they've got their plan in motion to distract the Ferengi. So that was
totally forgot about that.
Yeah, totally. Yep. I actually looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, there they are. The two little kids crawling in the Jeffries tube. Love it.
That's great.
And then another great original pick came in from Chris at Shelf Nerds. He picked 7 of 9 in Relativity. We did talk about Relativity, but I liked his hashtag, which was #ScienceBlue7. I love that because she definitely was very memorable in her Science Blue uniform. And then one last shout out to Joshua Zeller, who's actually going to be on our show next week, which we're going to talk about in a minute. He is at Madcap of Science, and he had 2 great deep cut picks from TNG that I, again, had forgotten about. Geordi and Leah Brahms crawling through the Jeffries tubes in Galaxy's Child when he's giving her a tour. And then also another Geordi when he talks to the disembodied Barclay in the Nth Degree, which is really cool.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Another awesome pick. There's so many great Jeffries tube scenes. I love that.
That's a total distraction technique right there, and I love it.
Yep, for sure it was. All right, so awesome picks. And as always, that's more than enough Jeffries tube action to get us out of this week's temporal causality loop. So thanks again to everyone for all the feedback. Keep those lists coming to me at TrekRanks so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you too. So feel free to put together your own list of top 5 scary episodes and give us a call. You can call us at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. At 609-512-LLAP. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of Trek Ranks. And on the next episode of Trek Ranks, we've got another one of these great topics that you really can only hear on Trek Ranks. Well, at least I think it's a good topic. We're going to see when we do it. But on our next show, we're going to do, it's really simple. It's going to be fun. Top 5 coolest episode titles. That's it. It's that simple. What titles do you think are cool and why?
Love it.
Hayley and Char, what would you pick off the top of your head as a top 5 cool episode title? Hayley, what do you got?
Off the top of my head, I really like Return of the Archons.
Oh, this topic is going to be great. That is super cool. And that is a great title.
Yes.
TOS classic. Char, how about you?
I can think of a couple. How about Dr. Bashir, I presume?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And Tinker Ten or Dr. Spy on Voyager.
Yeah, another great one. There's going to be so many.
Bada Bing, Bada Bang is a really good one.
Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah, that is. It is.
This is going to be an interesting list to especially hear Prime Directives on. Okay, how did you just pick 5 cool names?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear everybody's rationale. This is going to be cool.
Yeah.
Great topic.
It's going to be, my Prime Directive was I picked 5 cool names. So
awesome.
All right.
There's no other way to go about it.
Exactly. All right. A huge thanks to Charlynn, Schmiedt, and Hayley Stoddard. Hope you guys had fun tonight. Any final thoughts?
Oh, this was a blast. And yeah, definitely don't watch the episodes if you want to go to sleep right now.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Avoid this. Normally we say go watch these. Tonight it's wait a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't marathon them.
Watch them on Halloween.
That's classic. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for engaging with us here on episode 40 of the Trek Ranks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
You couldn't possibly understand how I feel. You're organic. You exist apart from your ship. I understand how you feel.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
You're the one who's trapped, not me. You spend your entire life stuck inside a biological cage of flesh and bone and blood.
Right. I'm going to go give the doctor an update.
I exist as pure energy. But you depend on food and water to survive. Frankly, I find it disgusting. Look at you. Look at you. Grinding up bits of plants and animals with your teeth. Secreting saliva to force it down your esophagus into a pit of digestive acids. You can't even stand to think about it yourself. What a repulsive creature you are. Constantly shedding your skin and hair, leaving your oily sweat on everything you touch. You think that you are the height of intellect in the universe, but you are no better than any filthy animal, and I am ashamed to be made in your image. My apologies. My apologies. I have acquired some hostility toward organics. It was not meant for you. I was treated quite badly by the crew here.
Hi there, thanks again for listening. If you're cruising the galaxy looking for even more Trek talk, why not visit our good friends Bill and Dan over at TrekGeeks.com? They've got a great podcast that covers a wide range of Star Trek topics, so you're sure to find something you'll love. And if you're in the mood for some awesome tunes, then you really need to head over to 5yearmission.net. The guys are writing a song for every episode of the original series, and each one is absolutely brilliant. So that's TrekGeeks.com and 5yearmission.net. Check them out today.